Okay, I'm sorry. Over here.
Given your answers to some prior questions, I'm really curious as to how you answer this one.
Gotta go.
From Senator to Crystal Electric in Buena Vista, Colorado.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for being here this morning.
Sure.
In the early 80s, co-ops were given the ability to opt out of rate regulation.
I'm sorry. What we're given the opportunity?
Electric co-ops.
Co-ops,
I just opt out of rate regulation.
Yeah.
By the PUC.
Right.
This is because the legislature in the 80s believed that locally elected boards were better able to regulate and protect co-ops and their consumers.
Right.
Would you support the continued exemption? Do I really have to ask continued exemption?
Oh, let me think about this. Oh, gee. Okay. Yes.
Okay, well, I think I have one final question. A little tougher maybe, Paul's. Thought about how to word this. How do you think your candidacy will...
Do I have a chance? I'm sorry, I interrupted you there with what I thought you were going to say.
How do you think your candidacy will affect the dynamics of the government?
Oh, okay. Well, it will enliven it dramatically. This is a little tougher because you know I must tell you that a month ago I never thought I would be here talking about this with you. I really wasn't planning on this. That's the truth. And I know it's hard to hear a politician say, you know, I really wasn't thinking about doing this, but I wasn't. I was at the time a Republican. I had been a Republican for 45 years. I had gotten in a lot of trouble with the party over that time. It's not as if I was this really good Republican from the standpoint of what the party wanted from me. Tom DeLay used to call me in because I often voted against the party. I often voted because we were spending way too much money. When I say the party, I was wondering which party am I in here? I mean, we had spent more than the Democrats before us in my first term when I came into the Congress, and we had taken over from the Democrats in '94, and we were growing government at ever-increasing rates. And of course, there's this little problem of illegal immigration. I don't know if you're interested in whether you want to hear me talk about that or not, but I was in conflict with the president about that, and so we argued a lot. One time. Karl Rove told me, don't ever darken the doorstep of this White House again. And I told him, well, I don't remember the welcome mat ever being out for me at the White House. And beside that, it's not your house. Well, anyway, we get into this 9th grade schoolyard. No, it is. So it isn't as if I had this wonderful relationship with the party. Tom DeLay, as I said, just to call me in and go, you keep this up, and bad things are going to happen. You keep voting against the party, you keep arguing with the leadership, you keep attacking the president or arguing with him. And so about the 3rd time he called me in. I mean, you start off with the speaker, actually, and then kind of go down. But Tom was the whip. I mean, and then the hammer. He was all the whip was the actual term. The hammer was the nom de plume that he had. So, and so you go in to see him, and this time it was really serious. This is the 3rd or 4th time, And so he gets into this. I've told you before. I've warned you. And you just keep it up. But now I got to tell you. And, at that point you're thinking, have they kidnapped my children? I mean, what are they going to, what could they possibly, because he's gone through all this list of things. And he goes, you keep this up, he says, and you're going to ruin your career in this place. And I said, that's it? That's the threat? I said, Tom, I don't think you have any idea how absolutely bankrupt that threat is to me. Ruin my career in this place? I don't even like this place. So, you know, and once you get that through to them, it pretty much subsided, all of the hassle, because they took away the last possible thing that they thought, I mean, it wasn't a threat, and they thought it was the major threat, because I wouldn't get the goodies, I wouldn't become a chairman, I wouldn't get the trips or whatever. It didn't matter. I don't care. It wasn't there for that. So my view of the state governor's race was, as long as we had what I considered to be a viable candidate on the Republican side, I was completely pleased to be a Republican and support them. I started out supporting Josh Penry. Worked for him, contributed, did whatever I could for him. Thought he would be an excellent choice. Young, dynamic, sort of, you know, conservative enough. He drops out. And a lot of speculation as to why, you know, whether the party said to him, hey, move aside, it's Scott's turn. That happens, it's ugly, and it's stupid. But it happens. So Scott becomes, then there's a choice between Scott and Mr. Mays. I had met Mr. Mays. Not impressed, was certainly, to say the least, okay? So that was never a choice, from my point of view, never a viable option. And so I supported Scott. Plagiarism, $300,000 thing all comes up. I mean, certainly I didn't know anything about it. His candidacy goes down. And what we were left with as Republicans was simply not acceptable to me. I could not deal with that possibility. Sometimes, I think it was JFK who said, sometimes the party asks too much. And in this case, it did, for me. That's my personal feeling about it. I don't want to go into great detail about my concerns with the candidate, but they are significant. And they're far more serious than just different opinions about public policy. I've dealt with that with people in my own party. We all have to, right? Nobody's going to have a mirror image of your position. But this is far more serious than that in terms of who can govern this state, who should govern this state. And so I could not simply walk away from that. And I found myself in a position of having to say, I'll take this on. It's not going to be easy. The dynamics, I will tell you right now that I do not believe for a second that Mr. Mays could win a race against Hickenlooper if he were the only person in the race. It's of no consequence. My involvement does not change that outcome. If it was a Hickenlooper-Mays race, there's no doubt in my mind that John Hickenlooper would win, and win by big margins. Because, for one thing, he's going to let this thing go to a certain extent, because as long as he looks at the polls and sees what he sees, he won't attack. If it were just Mays, Hickenlooper, he's got $2 million, $3 million, something. It's already about $1 million in ads. He will attack. And at that point, Mr. Mays would drop like a rock. So, I think, I won my first race. I was running as a Republican. I was running in a primary for Congress, my first congressional race. I won it, was in a 5-way primary, and I won with 26% of the vote. Strange things happen when you have a 3-way race or 4-way race. It's really very interesting. I see that every time I am, my numbers are low, but every time that I am taken out of the picture, Hickenlooper's numbers go up. It's a very interesting phenomena. There's a long time between now and November. In politics, it's an eternity. Lots of things can happen. I certainly will do this. I will tell you, I will force the issues that I believe have to be discussed into this debate, and I hope people will be able to make a wise decision at the end. And at the end of the day, I really do hope that people can say, to look at 3 candidates and say, okay, there's one that's the Democrat, one's a Republican, one's this, what is he, Constitution guy, what is that? Look beyond it and say to yourself, in as introspective a way as you possibly can, which one of these guys would be the best governor? period, and make a decision on that basis. And if you come down on other two based on that, that's fine. But what's the worst way to do it is to just say, well, that one's got a D behind his name, and that one's got an R behind his name. That's not a good way to make a decision, I don't think, for an office like governor. So you listen carefully to everybody who comes before you, and then search your heart. And if it turns out that, I'm not the guy for you on that basis, you just don't think I could for whatever reason you don't believe I would be a better governor, that's fine. But just don't do it because of the initials. They don't really mean much. Thanks very much.
On that, thank you, Congressman.
Thank you.